Hello, and welcome back to another episode of CantoSense, where we are embracing Chinese culture for Christian living. We're working through the tensions that we often experience so that we can live fully Christian and fully Chinese. Today, we're here to talk about Dragonboat Festival, or as some people call it, Dunji.
Well, in parts of the world where we don't get Dragonboat Festival, we also call it the Rice Dumpling Festival.
I love this festival, and it's one of my favorite Chinese festivals. I was told about the legend of the story when I was a kid, and it really just stuck with me.
Well, for the benefit of our viewers, tell us the story.
Well, okay, I'll do my best, but if our viewers want to fact check for me, please feel free to comment and correct me of where I've misrepresented. So, back in ancient China, there was a patriotic poet and advisor to the king who was a brilliant man named Wat Yun, as we call him in Cantonese. And he loved his country, but he was wrongfully accused of treason, and the king had sent him into exile. While he was in exile, he was very sad, wrote a lot of poetry, and was grieved by the whole situation. And soon the kingdom was overtaken by their enemies. And in his sadness, he drowned himself in the river and ended his own life. The people in the country who loved him and respected him greatly were very sad by this. So they rowed up and down the river looking for his body. And after a long time of not finding it, they were afraid that the fish would begin eating his body. So they started throwing what we now call zong, or rice dumplings into the river so that his body would not be eaten. And I know it's a weird story. It sounds quite morbid and strange, but for me, it was just a sweet expression of what the people did. Just such loyalty. And that's how Chinese people express their loyalty to those that they respect and honor, especially those in positions of authority or, in leadership. And so that story in its strangeness really stuck with me.
That's a fascinating story, Hannah, as morbid as it is. But interestingly enough, it reminds me of another story of another hero who likewise, gave up his life, not through suicide, but he gave up his life for the sake of others to pay back a debt that he didn't owe. In fact, he was accused of crimes that he didn't commit. And he didn't mind his body being broken. In your story, it talks about how they were afraid that his body will be eaten and broken. But in this case, this hero didn't mind his body being broken. Jesus, when he says, take up my body and drink of my blood, he really was inviting us to remember his sacrifice. Because when he first did that with his disciples, when he had the communion, the Passover feast with them,
Right.
it was in preparation for his impending death. And that's exactly what happened. Every time now, when we come together as his followers, and have communion, we are symbolically eating his body and drinking his blood because we want to remember what he did for us on the cross.
And CantoSense is about how we navigate the Chinese culture through a Christian lens. And so when we think about this story, it must be so hard for Chinese people to accept or even comprehend, wrap their minds around how countercultural it is for not just a leader or even someone in authority, but a deity which would deserve even more honor and dignity and respect to break himself and destroy himself in such a gruesome and undignified and a terrible way.
Exactly. And that's why the Christian story is so powerful and radically different from many stories of heroes. As we talked about this feast with Zhong and this other feast that is eating the body of Christ and drinking his blood, again, symbolically. If you are not a follower of Jesus, I would like to invite you to this feast and come and experience the goodness that he has to offer. because of what he has sacrificially given up for us. And if you need more information, contact us, drop us an email, and we'll be very happy to talk further.
So whether you're in it for the story or whether you're in it for the zong, we encourage you to celebrate Dragonboat Festival or Dunmji this year. And hopefully it'll be a reminder for you of the sacrifice that Jesus made for us as well. Thank you for tuning in today with us. Do subscribe, follow us, and share with us how you celebrate Dragonboat Festival. And do join us next time when we talk about why it's so important for Chinese families to eat together. See you again soon.